Okay, so now let's go ahead with the data. Let's go ahead and start using the data we've been provided, the books data. So if you come to the startup project, right, right here, you realize that we've been given an API um, to access the books. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and use that data right here. So you're going to put um, I'm going to put the data, the service call right here in my app.js file. But you can basically just write a function to um, to fetch your data. You have to use what we call life cycles. React comes with more different life cycles, but what we're going to use here is component did mount. Um, and what do we want to do? If you go to your books API.js, you realize you have access to all the APIs to get your books, right? So I'm going to import this module right here, import books API from books API. And what do we want to do here? So what we want to do is that once we get our books, once we call to get our books, we want to keep the state of the books. So I'm just going to keep a state here. We're going to call it books. I'm just going to call it books. So what we want to do is once we fetch our books, we want to go ahead and add it to set this field, this property here, set the value of this JSON property books. And what's going to happen is we're going to make React keep track of that state. So once the books data has been updated, React goes ahead and will render your components for you. So let's go ahead and do that. So we have books API dot. We want to do a get. I think it's a get all. So you want to do a get all for all the books. So we're going to do that get all. Okay. And once we get a book, let's go ahead and to make sure everything is fine, let's just go ahead and console that. I'll call it response. Okay. And then there's a books API. Oh, so there's no default export actually. So we're gonna do import all as books API. So that should be fine. And let's go back to our app and see the console. So you see right here, we're getting our books now. So we're getting our books. So what do we want to do with this book? So once we get the books, we want to go ahead and set this here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this dot set state. Okay, and then I'm going to set my books to be what? To be the response. Okay, and now we are getting our books. The question is, how do we apply? How do we use that books? Okay, we want to use these books we want to pass it as a props to our shelves. Okay, we display all the books on the shelves. So I'm going to go ahead and pass all these books to our shelf. So I'm going to say books, say all books. It's going to be what? This dot state dot books. Okay. Now our components now have access to this books data. So let's go back to shelves and see how to utilize that data. So before we go ahead and apply the data here, there's something we need to do. We need to clean up all these first. Okay, we have three shelves here. We have currently reading, we have want to read, and we have read shelf. So what I want to eventually have is, instead of having all these shelf here, I want to go ahead and just have something like this. Okay, shelf. Let me comment this. I'm going to go ahead and have something like this, shelf. Okay, and then actually we have three shelves, so just going to be for currently reading, and then we're going to have for reading, want to read, and then we're going to have for read. Okay, read. All right. So so this shelf, this doesn't belong here, so I'm just going to go ahead and remove it. So let's go ahead and remove it and abstract it away. Okay, that this starts from line 11 up to 78, 77. So line 11 up to 77. I'll cut it away. I'll move it. 77. All right. So now we're gonna put this in our shelf component. So let's quickly write our shelf component. We're gonna go ahead and report React from React, and then we're gonna create our class called shelf that extends React.component, and we want to have our render function, and here we want to return this. Okay, and now also we want to export our shelf component. All right, and now inside here we're going to import it in shelf. We're going to import shelf from shelf, and then we're going to uncomment this. Let's uncomment this. So now I can go ahead and remove all of this. Okay, and we're going to have something like this. So this is going to be want to read. It's going to be. Alright, let's remove this also. So let's remove all of this. We don't need all of this actually. We don't need all of this. Alright, so this is gonna be want to read. This is gonna be want to read. Want to currently reading. And then we're gonna have want to read, and then we're gonna have read. Okay. So if we go back to our page, realize that we are rendering the component, but just we are rendering the same books on the shelf for currently reading, and all these have changed. This actually is going to be want to read. It's going to be read. Okay, it's want to read. It's going to be read. Okay, so the reason why we have the same books defined in each shelf is because we are rendering our data here. Our data we are rendering here is static, so we need to render it dynamically. So let's go back to shelves. Remember, we are getting our props. We are already passing the props to the books from our app.js, right? We are passing all books props to shelves. So we're going to go ahead and get that data. So constant all books is going to be this dot props dot what dot all books. Okay, and we can, to be sure we have our data, we can actually console all of these. I'm going to say up here, and console all books. Now, so let's see what we have on the console. Actually, you see, the first time the components got rendered, the array was empty, right? That was because the life cycle event didn't kick didn't run at the first time. But after it got the data, it went ahead and rendered the components, the child components, and then now the books array is now being populated, and then we go ahead and re-render it. We render the components. So that's the essence of having life cycles defined. Um, so what we're going to do is we want to go ahead and let's look at the data we're getting. Okay, the data we are getting, you're going to see that we have defined shelf, right? This is a shelf currently reading. We have some other shelves. This we have a shelf. Want to read here. So let's filter the books into their different arrays. So let's create an array and call it. So this is going to be an array. Call it currently reading. Currently reading. And then we're going to do all books. Let's just filter all books. Now for each book, we want to return book book dot shelf. We want to equals to what currently reading. Okay, and likewise we're going to do that for the other ones. Okay, for want to read and then read. Okay, and this is going to be, I would assume is want to read, and I will assume this is read. Okay, so we can confirm all books. Oh, okay, so we actually want to do that filter, right? We can include that here. All books dot filter dot filter and dot filter. Okay, so that's what we want to have. So if you look at the data again, we realize that actually let's look at one of these. Actually, this is in a read state, and so we're filtering getting all the books filtered into their different shelves. So now what we can do is pass each shelf their own properties, their own props, right? So for this shelf, we're going to pass in a props of want to read, or I can just call it books. Okay, books on the shelf is going to be what? For this one, it's going to be want to read. Oh, sorry, it's going to be currently reading. It's going to be the one at the top. And for this one, the books is going to be what? Want to read. And then this is going to be read. Okay. It's looking good so far. The only thing is now, remember, we're passing a props here, but our shelf still renders static data. So what we want to do is we want to come here and we're going to do a loop. Okay, so first let's go ahead and get it. Let's go ahead and get the props. Let's say shelf books equals to this dot props dot books. So we are getting the books because this shelf is a component of shelves, and we're passing a props books. We can go ahead and get that book data, shelf books, right? And what we want to do is that anywhere we see a static data, we're going to look through the books array, shelf books array, and then render the books, the data with the properties that we have for each book. So right here, let's go ahead and do a loop, a map, a loop. Okay, let's create a loop through all the arrays. So we're gonna do shelf books dot. So for each book, what do we want to do? We want to for each book we want to um, go ahead and create this list. Okay, for each book we want to create this list. And that actually ends where. Okay, so this is the first. This is one list here. So it ends on 44. So I'm just going to copy this up to 44. Okay, and then post it here. Okay, and we actually don't need the second one. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of it, because by the time we do a for loop through, we're going to generate the list dynamically. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this one. Okay. So now for this, for each book, what do we want to render? We want to render this URL. Okay. I'm going to change this to this, and then right here I want to render this link with this. Okay, so it's going to be book dot something. Okay, so what it is, let's examine the data again. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and comment data, move that just so I can see the data. So it's going to be book dot, we have image links and we have thumbnail. So let's go ahead and use that. So we're gonna have book dot image links dot thumbnails, right? Thumbnail, not nails. Am I right? Image links thumbnail, image links, and then thumbnail. Okay. All right. So I think I need to get rid of this to render properly. All right, we'll come back to this. So for each book, we want to go ahead and render the book.image links. Also, what we want to do is there are some other field that we can render. So like this book title, it's going to be book, I think it's book.title, and then it's going to be book.orders. Okay. Okay. So now there is so the question is, why? I think it should render now. Okay, so I need to, I need to return, if I use that, I think I need to use this, because I don't want to have to write a return again. So I have this ends here. This here. Okay. All right. Sounds good. Okay, so this is working fine. But we have an error message, a warning actually, that each iteration, each child in the array has to have a unique key, and that is needed by React so that you can keep track of the state of each book. In case you change something, it needs to be able to identify what you changed, so it needs you to have a key here. So we're just going to put a key here, and good for us that we have that each object has an ID, right? So we have an ID which is unique. So I'm going to go ahead and have a key here called book.id. Okay. All right. What did I do wrong? Key equals to book.id. Okay. So that error that warning should go away. All right. That warning goes away. So now we are passing books to each to each shelf. The question is now that how do we, this is supposed to be something else. Supposed to be currently reading, and it's supposed to be want to read, but we don't have any data as per the shelf name, kind of like in that format. So what I'm going to do is, let me go ahead and pass in a props here. I'm going to pass in a props here, call it title, and then this is going to be called currently reading, and it's going to be we can pass this same title here and here. All right, something missed. Yes, something missed. Pass it here, and this is going to be want to read, and it's going to be read. Okay, and in our shelf, because we are dynamically rendering our shelf component, we're going to go ahead and change this to whatever we passed in. So whatever shelf data that is being rendered, I'm going to go ahead and get the title for it. So this one is going to be what? This.props.title. Okay, and it should render fine now. I'll remove this. All right, sweet. Okay, so it's looking good so far. Now we've cleaned up our components very well, right? So it's beginning to look really good. So one thing we want to do is we want to be able to move books from one shelf to the other. So let's before we go there, let's go ahead and set this value, because currently right now we are not setting the value for this drop down. So let's go ahead and do that in our shelf component, so we can see the books and what the value is. So this is our select element, right? There's a select element, and we can set the value of that element. So let's go ahead and do that here. So I'm going to say value is going to be what? The value is going to be actually book.title. There is you see the title here, title. So that's what the value is going to be. So I'm just going to say book.title. Okay, want to read, currently reading. So all right, so now it's failing. It says you need to it provided a value prop to form field without an handler, an unchanged handler. Okay, so we need to actually have we need to have so when we click on when we try to move a book from one shelf to the other, right, we're going to have an unchanged method an event handler, right, so that once we click on the shelf we want to move to, the book gets moved to the different shelf. So let's go ahead and put that there. So it wants us to have unchange. Put it here. So unchange let's go ahead and do this. So we're going to have the event, and then we're going to have a method, right? But right now, let's just go ahead and console.log the event. Okay, for now. So if we do this, you see we have an event. So let's see. Come on to read. All right. So this is not the value book.title. I think we're wrong with that. So book.title, I think it's gonna be book.shelf, not title. Book.shelf want to read, because yeah, we have one to read, and that's gonna be the value. So sorry about that. So it's gonna be book.shelf. And let's see. Yeah. So now we have our shelves. The books are on the right shelf and showing. Want to read. This should be in the read, 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 read. All right. So awesome. Currently, we don't have any book in currently reading. That's fine. Um, so each time we click on read, each time we move to a different shelf, we have the event files, right? But what we want to do is we don't just want to change it here. Actually, it doesn't even change because we haven't moved the book. We're not setting the property of this book to different shelf. We're just consoling it, so it still remains on want to read on the shelf it currently is. So that's gonna be the next thing we're gonna do. Okay, we're gonna write the handler for this method, right? That we're gonna call here. So the question is, where should we put that method? So if you understand what life cycle is, and what state is actually, we want to go ahead and set. So once we make this change, what we want to do is we want to call a method called maybe change shelf. All right, we want to call change shelf, and then we want to pass in the book we want to change, and we want to pass in the event dot the target dot value, which is going to be the okay, I will leave it for now. It's going to be the one of this want to read, or the shelf name. That's what it's going to be. So we want to write this event handler, but where should we put this method? If we come to so we put this change shelf. Let's put it here in our app.js and pass it down as a prop. So let's call it update bookshelf, or change bookshelf, change shelf, bookshelf. Okay, and then what do we want to do? It's going to be a method where we're passing the book, we're passing the shelf we want to change to, and then we'll just we can basically just, we might be tempted to do this book.shelf equals to shelf, but if we do that, nothing happens. Our component won't get re-rendered. So let's see. So change shelf, just pass it down to the as a prop. So let's call it change shelf, and let's call this this dot change shelf. Okay, and right here in our shelves, let's go ahead and pass change shelf. Let's go ahead and pass the event handler. So we're going to call this change shelf equals to what, this dot prop dot change shelf. Okay, so just gonna be the same here. Want to read, okay, change shelf is not defined. So yeah, so from here, what we just want to do is we want to say this dot props dot change shelf. Okay. And you see that when we do this, it doesn't change anything. Oh my bad. This dot props dot change shelf. Where are we making a mistake? This dot props dot change shelf. This dot change shelf. Shelf.js. Shelf.js 925. This dot props dot change shelf. Where does this? It doesn't even. It doesn't see the full stop that I put right here. Is it playing with me? All right. Okay. All right. It was playing with me. Okay. So you see that even when we change the state of the book, it doesn't change anything, because the way I designed the component, right? My application, I'm having I didn't define a book as a component, and I'm not maintaining the state of each book. What I'm maintaining is the state of what? All of the books. So what we want to do is we want to play a trick here. We'll make it look like as if we're changing the state of this books here. Okay. So we will go ahead and change the state in the books array. And because we know React is keeping track of the state of this books array, it's going to go ahead and re-render the component, all the child components, and then the book is going to be put on their respective shelf. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, I think it should be fine now. Awesome. All right. Okay, that's good. And now we pretty good, pretty in a good, in a very good shape. So I can move this to from want to read. I can move it to currently reading. I can move from I'm currently reading to read, and and that is the conclusion of this section. And basically, what is left to do is not much. In a similar manner, you want to go and work on your search. Basically, on your search here, right? In your search component, all you want to do is you want to make a call to get to search by book, and you already have an API that you can use to search by books. And what's going to happen is you're going to have this search query. You pass in a query, you mix, and then you can call that API. So what's going to happen is you need to keep the state of query also. Okay, you want to keep a state here, call it query, and then once there's an update on your search box and your search, once you update this, you go ahead and update the state, and then you make the call to the API and render all the books. So that shouldn't be much work. I'm gonna go ahead and stop here, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much.